Very good evening, all of you present here. This is Dr. Reddy Shekhar Reddy Ji, Associate Professor of English. On behalf of the Department of Sciences and Humanities, School of Engineering and Technology, Christ deemed to be University Bangalore, I take the opportunity to welcome this evening to this symposium on positioning and repositioning of light of National Education Policy 2020. National education policy has become a buzzword these days. But as far as my understanding is concerned, very few teachers of we have an awareness and understanding what national education policy is. But many of us don't have proper awareness about what national education policy. So to have some sort of awareness on that, this evening we have with us two renowned ELT experts as resource persons and a committed academician to moderate the session. I welcome speakers of the day, Professor Srish Chandra Chowdhury, former professor, IIT Madras. Sir, thank you for your kind gesture of acceptance and guidance. Now, I welcome Dr. Sanjay Arora, Associate Professor, Central University of Rajasthan, and the President of LTOI. Sir, thank you for your acceptance and support. I also welcome Mr. Dhanappa M. Metri, Vice President, Sangameshwar College Autonomous, Solapur, Maharashtra, and the founding secretary of LTOI Solapur chapter to moderate the session. Now, I cordially invite our beloved head of the Department, Sciences and Humanities, Dr. A.V. Vijay Shankar, to grace the symposium with his opening remarks. Sir, please welcome.
Good evening, all valued invited guests, respected professors, teachers. Trust all are safe and healthy. A big thanks to all participants for joining with us for the symposium, Positioning and Repositioning of English Teachers in the Light of National Education Policy, organized by Department of Sciences and Humanities, Kenkeri Campus, Christ deemed to be University Bangalore, in association with the prestigious association, English Language Teachers Association. Department of Sciences established in Christ University in 2009 under the Deanery of School of Engineering and Technology. The department always followed the vision of the university excellence and service. In all the programs, extension activities conducted throughout the last 10 years, all were designed in such a way to support the scholars and academicians and professionals, to support the community, as well as to motivate and encourage to do innovations in researches. It's my pleasure to welcome today's resource person, Professor Sirish Chowdhury, former professor, IIT Madras, and Dr. Sanjay Arora, Associate Professor, Central University of Rajasthan and President of LTI. Thank you, professors, for accepting our invitation to share your thoughts on role of teachers in new educational policy. I also welcome the moderator for this session, Mr. Dhanappa Metri, Vice Principal of Sangameshwar College, Maharashtra. I strongly believe today's talk will be an awareness and inspiration for all teachers, all academicians, and equip all of us to do innovations in our teaching and learning process, which is the future of our country. On behalf of Department of Sciences and Humanities, I express my gratitude to Christ University Management, Vice Chancellor Father Abraham VM, Director Father Benny Thomas, Dean Dr. Ivan Jose for all the approvals and trust on us for organizing this program. I express my gratitude and thanks to organizer of the webinar series, Dr. Reddy Shekhar, for the initiative, expertise effort for organizing this symposium. I extend my appreciation to the members of CASH, Christ States Association of Sciences and Humanities, for their support, and thankful to all faculty members of Department of Sciences for support, encouragement, and motivation. Thank you all academicians for joining with us, who showered a lot of positive vibes and encouragements. Finally, I take this opportunity to place on hold for the technical support, guidance provided to the session. Thank you, participants, once again for motivating us and encouraging us. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you. Over to Rishi, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that encouraging words. Thank you very much. Before introducing today's guest and the moderator, we have a couple of announcements to the participants. Dear participants, please use chat box only to post straight and meaningful questions to the speakers at the end of each session. No need of requests for feedback form in the middle of the session. Shared and in the chat box at the end of the session. Please enter email ID and all the details correctly in the feedback form, which will be considered for generating and sending certificates. Here, one more request is that don't get confused. After the session, there will be some Cisco form will be there that asks for feedback. Don't get confused that it is the feedback form. We will be sharing feedback form link in the chat box. You have to use feedback so that you can get your certificate received. Now, it's time to invite Mr. Thanappa M. Principal, Sangam College Autonomous Solar Board, and founding secretary of Health, introduce the speakers of the day and to moderate the symposium. Before handing over him the session, I would like to speak two words related to our speakers of the day. And yeah, Professor Srish Chandra Chowdhury, who is a retired professor from IIT Madras and distinguished professor at GLA University, Madura, and who is not only a great academician and renowned ELT speaker all over the country, I know him as a great philanthropist. And we are happy and we are glad to have him as a resource person today. Dr. Sanjay Arora, President of Heljoy and Associate Professor with Central University of Rajasthan, academician and good ELT expert we have with us. Now I invite Mr. Thanappa M. to introduce our speakers and moderate the sessions. Over to Thanappa M. Sir, please.
Good evening, everybody. Privileged to introduce two pillars of English Language Teachers Association of India. First, I begin with Dr. Sanjay Arora. Teachers have different obligations towards their academic stakeholders, students, parents, heads of the institution, and finally, towards one's profession. I call it a profession obligation. That is the perfect development of any teacher. A time to return comes to everybody, but very few people return it to their own profession. Dr. Arora, an amicable soul, is the national president of English Teachers Association of India and the chapter head of Jaipur. Ours is one of the leading English Teachers Forum after IATEFL in England. Dr. Sanjay is the leader of the association, initiated by true academicians and run by the equally committed board members. Both the speakers are the pillars of the English Language Teachers Association of India. He is working in a capacity of associate professor at Rajasthan Central University. Arora sir is his scholarship is recognized by British Council, TESOL, RELO, etc. He is a research guide, academically involved in publications, participation in events, and organizing the academic activities. I would like to switch over to next speaker today. We have heard Chaudhary sir a number of times. We know his life background, those who are the members of LTI. It reminds me lines of poem from Goldsmith. English poet Oliver Goldsmith decries the decadence of his village Auburn in his classic poem, The Deserted Village, under urbanization, and he expresses his heart's desire. The lines are like this, I quote, I still had hopes, for pride attains us still. Amidst the swayings to see my book, learned skill, around my fire an evening group to draw, and tell of all I felt and all I saw, and as an hare whom hounds and horns pursue, pants to the place from whence at first she flew, I still had hopes, my long vexations past, here I return. Srish Chaudhary is the person having this experience, a distinguished professor at GLA University, Mathura, was born and brought up in a tiny village. He started his education under the tree on the bank of river Bhagamati near Indo-Nepal border. After acquiring all academic accomplishments at home and abroad, he is retired from IIT Madras. Now he is taking efforts to teach English to the rural learners of his home state. Here I can connect his personality that the poet has expressed his desire. Sri Sir is returning his native, his motherland, in the form of teaching students English reading with the help of projects from IIT Madras. A renowned scholar has every ability to motivate any unmotivated teaching fraternity. Rest of his introduction will be through his scholarly discourse only. I am grateful to Christ University for giving me this opportunity to introduce two stalwarts in ELT. Thank you very much, sir.
Over to Sanjay Ji. You can make it as a full screen mode, sir.
Okay.
Sir, it's okay. It's okay, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Dhanappa, for your kind introduction. Dr. Vijay Shankar, Dr. Reddy Shekhar Reddy, Professor Sirish Chaudhary, participating teachers. I stand here today before you to talk about positioning and repositioning of teachers in the light of NEP. And I would like to share the modesty of Professor Chaudhary in allowing me to speak first. When I came to know that Professor Chaudhary also will be talking about this, so I was sharing with Dr. Reddy that he should begin first, but during our informal interaction before this session, he said that I need to speak first and thereafter he will take over. So a person of his stature, a person of his experience, I feel in fact quite honored that he allowed me to start first, because after he speaks, I'll be left with nothing because the kind of experience that he has, I don't think even any one of us would have that kind of experience here. So thank you for allowing me to uh, talk about my experiences as a teacher in terms of positioning and now how we need to reposition ourselves. So thank you. Now, before I introduce you to the plan of the next 15 minutes of my talk, I would like to tell you what qualifies me to talk about NEP and positioning of teachers. Where am I positioned as a teacher? I've roughly spent some 29 years of teaching, starting from school, moving on to college, and now teaching in a university. So that is how I feel that I have experience of all the three levels of teaching, and I can talk about maybe, if not very authentically, about the uh, repositioning of teachers after the implementation of NEP. Definitely, I can share my experiences of my positioning as a teacher in these three separate roles. So my talk will be focused on these broad areas about the positioning of teachers presently in schools and in higher education, and then moving on to the repositioning of teachers post NEP. And thereafter, I'll be making some conclusions by giving one example of Finland. So that's what my brief presentation is all about. Now, when we talk about the positioning of school teachers, I think as of now, there are hardly any opportunities for professional development. I can segregate, I think I can exclude Kendriya Vidyalayas here, where I see there is a very regular professional development. They have summer and winter training programs for primary teachers, for middle school teachers, secondary and senior secondary teachers. So except Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, I don't see that happening um, for other teachers at the school level. Thereafter, then, when we talk about jobs of teachers, just yesterday I got a call from one of my students who passed out this year, and he was asking me about my opinion whether he should go for a B.Ed or for PhD. Now, the student is not a very outstanding student. So I told him that, see, if you want to get a job, so you can go for B.Ed and then thereafter ensure that you have a job in hand and thereafter you can plan your PhD program. Because this is how I also began my career. So thereafter he felt a little assured about his decision. Now, most of the time I've seen, and he was asking, sir, will I get a government job? Because most of our teachers are looking for a government job because a government job means security, security of the job, and also security of your salary. So that is where the current position of teachers is, where most of the teachers in fact feel that we have to get a job because of that security. The other aspect is the assessment. I'll talk about the assessment of the stereotype system of teacher assessment. I remember when I was teaching in school, there was a format to be filled up each year, and that was just a formality because everyone was filling up similar things and getting um, some kind of score on the basis of which they would be given some kind of evaluation. And almost everyone was getting the same assessment and evaluation, unless and until means the teacher's performance was very poor in terms of the results. And then today, if I talk about school teachers, if we exclude the private school teachers, the government school teachers do not have much of accountability. Um, whether you complete the syllabus or you don't, whether you go to the class or you don't, it is in fact means there is hardly any check. And in my college days, I have seen many of my teachers, my fellow colleagues, filling up registers just because there was an inspection coming. The director of college education was on a visit, and they were filling up all those attendance registers. And except that means there was nothing beyond that. Also, there is not much of monitoring in terms of our teaching. If we talk about teaching in the classroom, there is hardly any monitoring done by the principal of the school or by any external internal agency. For teachers of English, skills have now become important. But presently,
Sanjay sir,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you. Many people are saying that it is not clearly audible. There is some issue with audio. Can you uh,
Okay.
make a little bit closer?
Okay. Is it okay now? Is it better? Can you
Yes,
please
sir.
confirm? Is it
Somewhat,
better?
somewhat. Yes, sir. Somewhat.
Okay.
But
Okay. Okay. So I'll bring the mic closer. So
yes.
skills as of now for English teachers are not that important. If the teacher is teaching the core skills or maybe himself is trained for that or that, it's not important. But in the times to come now, skills are going to become important, and the teacher, English teacher especially, has to adapt to the change situation. So now there is this is the this is the position of teachers. Okay, I'll talk about the repositioning of teachers later in terms of school. So here we have the positioning of teachers in higher education. Uh, except for some orientation or refresher programs, I think there's no teacher training given, and most orientation and refresher programs are also for uh, promotion purposes. Presently, there is no student-teacher evaluation. We do have it in our university. The students do give feedback about the teacher uh, after the semester is over. But in most of the institutions, I have seen that there is no student feedback or no student evaluation done. Then emphasis on research in higher education is again for the namesake. I've seen that in my college days. Teachers would just be willing to go for conferences just to collect certificates for their API score, or will be sending in papers to various journals, peer-reviewed journals. Now, in fact, we are moving on to the new list that has come up, the care list from UGC. So now most of the preparatory journals are out of that list now. But then earlier, that was the scenario. So even in that list, the care list, we are not sure because some people say that these articles are published on payment basis, and the journals are charging. Some of these journals, not all of them, are charging for publishing in the name of getting the subscription for that journal. Now, if we talk about course designing, uh, I would give the example of Rajasthan University. I think now changes have come up, but previously I remember for decades at a stretch, the same course with some text dropped, some text added, the same course continued to prevail for a number of years. And there was no competition for the teachers in terms of their survival, because once you get a job, you are in, and thereafter no one can remove you from your position. Testing, in fact, was traditional. In fact, it's still traditional. We have the same system, except for those who have moved on to the semester system. Even in the semester system, we are asking the same set of questions, some choices given, and thereafter students need to answer those questions. and we are publishing for promotion. So that is the present positioning of teachers in terms of higher education. Now, here um, we have the repositioning of teachers, the school teachers, how that's going to change. The new policy talks some housing provisions for teachers because many of them who are teaching in remote areas, they struggle with accommodation problems. Except for, I think, Navodaya Vidyalaya, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Sangatans. I think other state government teachers probably are not getting that much of support from the government in terms of housing. So that is one of the provisions that have been made in the new education policy. And working conditions are to be decent and pleasant, and these are broad terms. Now, how decent that will be and what is pleasant, I think times will tell. And then there are opportunities for professional development. Teacher training programs will be emphasized, and teachers will be updated. They will be actually trained on the new techniques of teaching, and on a regular basis, this is going to happen. So that's a positive sign. Now, the tenure and your salary for the new teachers is under threat. I would like Professor Chaudhary to confirm this because this is what I could understand, that now it will all be based on your uh, teaching, how what is the output coming, what are the results, and how you are developing professionally, and how you are going to be of value to the institution where you are. So that is what is coming up. Then, in terms of teacher assessment, there will be a comprehensive system of assessing teachers, and the teachers will be made more accountable. Thereafter, then there is this monitoring of teaching, which had started even before the NEP found a place. There was this news about teachers being observed through CCTV cameras. I think the Delhi government probably started that, and the parents would have access to those classes where their children are studying and what the teacher is teaching. And there was a lot of furor about it. But now monitoring will be done through CCTV cameras. And then skilled, multi-talented teachers uh, would be valued, or they will have a place in the new education policy. So multi-talented, skilled teachers, irrespective of languages, English or any other local language, it will be for all the teachers, most of the teachers. So you need to prove how you are of value to that institution. So this is what is there for the repositioning of teachers in the new education policy. And for a very long time, I have been thinking that in higher education, there was no such teacher training program as if a post-graduation or an MPhil or PhD degree would train you as a better teacher, and that was not happening. As a result, in higher education, you must have seen experience with yourself. Uh, there have been good teachers and bad teachers. There are good uh, there are teachers who have a very sound profile in terms of their academics, but when it comes to classroom delivery, when it comes to teaching in the classroom, they're found wanting. So now there is a provision for teacher training, something similar to the school education. So that is coming up. And then there is a 360-degree evaluation where it will be a feedback from, it will be a peer feedback, it will be a student to teacher, teacher to student feedback. So that is how it is going to be, and how effective that will be, how competent our students are for that, time will tell. And then there is a lot of emphasis on research. In fact, the government is planning to segregate research institutions from teaching institutions at the higher education level. So we will have research institutions where entirely the focus will be on research, And there'll be institutions which will be focusing more on the teaching aspect. So whether both research and teaching will go in the same institution or will have separate institutions for that, we have yet to get a clarity on that. Then the teachers are expected to develop these modular courses, these courses which are more demanding, uh, something similar to the Western pattern, where specific course instructors, they design their courses, they float the courses, and there are takers for that course, and accordingly that course in a way sells. So here we just can't sit relaxed thinking that a course has been prepared and we have to just deliver that or teach it. So this is what I think each one of us will be expected to do as per our area of expertise, those of us who are in higher education. And then projects uh, have also to be, our focus will be more on developing projects and going in for funding. Uh, and that funding will not be institutional funding. The funds will have to be generated from external agencies. So this is again an addition to this. In fact, more or less, this thing is already there in some of the institutions, in some central institutions. It's there in IITs, probably it's there. So this this aspect of going in for projects will now be uh, common across all teachers, across all students. So this is what we need to gear up for. The new education policy also talks about the entry of 100 foreign institutions, foreign universities, and institutes of excellence. So once these universities um, enter the country, there'll be a stiff competition for all the colleges and universities, which gradually, over the next 10, 15 years, are all going to be autonomous. And ideally, the strength of each institution will be around 3,000 students. Right now, there are universities like Rajasthan University has some 800 affiliated colleges under it, and thousands of students, and in fact, lakhs of students are registered under the University of Rajasthan. So there won't be any affiliated institutions now. There'll be autonomous institutions which will be on their own, and there for survival, and also it will be the survival of the best. In a way, if you can't compete, if you can't say stand in competition with the foreign institutions or institutions of excellence, so gradually you will fade out. So that is what is coming up. And then the testing criteria, which is more traditional now, will be focusing more on analyzing the critical and analytical skills. Just recently, during the lockdown, our university uh, was thinking of going in for this online test. So there were many suggestions that were given, but then finally it was decided to go for an open book exam, which we successfully conducted. And in this, the criteria was that the questions have to be analytical and critical. You can't ask direct factual questions, textual questions, which students will be able to cut, copy, and paste. These questions based more on their understanding of the text and what is their take on this. So something similar is coming up in terms of testing, and then the teacher's merit will also bring in credit to the institution. That means institutions will now, earlier it was the institution which was bringing credit to the teacher. Like right now, if you are based in an IIT or a central university, your stature rises irrespective of whatever your current standing is or past credentials are. So now it will be the teacher's merit which will decide or credit the institution. So if the teachers are bringing in more of projects, if they are doing some valuable research, going in for some kind of innovative courses, attracting more and more students. So that is how the institutions are going to grow. Then moving on from this aspect of publish or not to publish, whether you are publishing it or you aren't publishing it, it wasn't much of a problem. But now, gradually, we have to move on to this uh, publishing more frequently, otherwise, you perish. It's publish or perish, that's this rule that you need to keep in mind. And then, yesterday, I was attending one of the webinars where there was a question asked by a teacher. She was asking about the global opportunities for teachers, that what is there in terms of global opportunities. Yes, there are those global opportunities for competent teachers, those who are putting in the desired effort, means they are coming in with innovative design courses, those who are doing good research, and they have good projects to their credit. So obviously they may get a chance to move on to some foreign institutions as well. So that is about the positioning of teachers in higher education. Now, these are some of the things which I felt this policy misses out on, and maybe Professor Chaudhary will confirm these doubts in his presentation. Um, the first thing is that whether we are doing away with exam-centric education in the initial years, whether there won't be any exams or there will be exams or there will be this comprehensive, continuous and comprehensive evaluation like we are doing it presently, then how flexible will the syllabus design be? If we are talking about flexibility, I was reading this report where the education minister, Mr. Pokhriyal, he said that the flexibility or the autonomy has to it has to be it cannot be completely given. There has to be some monitoring done on that. So I'm doubtful how flexible things will be in terms of syllabus design, because right now there is a lot of debate going on in Rajasthan about how syllabus is being changed in various subjects to suit the party ideology, the ruling party's ideology, or something of that kind. So these things are there. So how free the teachers will be for that time will tell. Probably, I think the new education policy does not talk about this much in detail. And are we going to go beyond the textbooks in the early years? Or are we going to use authentic real life material? Or is it going to be a textbook which is more localized, which is to be prepared by the teacher or which is to be prepared by the schools? And will these textbooks, if will there be some kind of standardization process that will be done at the education ministry level in respective states or at the national level? Um, and then the books to whether the books have some broad focus or the focus will be means whether it will be narrowed down. So still, I don't see anything there in this regard. And then the policy also probably misses out on the digitally challenged teachers. Like I consider myself to be digitally challenged, and I've given that evidence at the starting of this event by struggling to join this. So it took me some 10 minutes to join this, despite the trial being conducted. Yes, sir.
So can you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Should I wind up?
Yeah, you can take 1 minute and sum it up.
Okay, okay. I'm almost done. So, whether the teachers will have digital accessibility and connectivity. Yesterday, the speaker from US, she was sharing that there are places in America also where the bandwidth is low, where there is no internet connectivity. If that is the condition in US, in India, I don't know when is it going to happen. Then, in terms of collaboration of vocational and training centers with industry. Whether the new education policy talks about vocational education, but whether there is some kind of connect with the industry or not, it's still not talking much about that. And then those who are undergoing the vocational education, will they be eligible for civil services exams where the qualification is uh, graduation degree? So these are things which, in fact, I think the policy misses out on. Okay, so I'll just wind up by giving you an instance of the Finland model, where all these things are in place. And I think some of these things are coming up with the new education policy. And the other things, I think, gradually will happen in the due course of time. So let us hope that it is going to prove to be of immense value to both the school and school teachers and teachers at the higher education level. So with this, I thank you all for a patient hearing, and I wish you all the best. Thank you. Do you have any questions? If you have any, please, you can feel free to ask. Dr. Reddy, I suppose I have some time for questions.
Yes, sir. We'll take up a few questions, a couple of questions.
Okay, I don't see the chat box here.
Yes, sir. I will read out for you.
Some
I
questions.
will read out for you.
Yeah.
There is a question from L. Divya Narayanan. Sir, the question is, any provision in NEP to provide digital assistance to teachers?
See, as I said that here, uh, there is no provision, as per my understanding, for the digitally challenged teachers. In fact, we have to evolve on our own, like we have done during the lockdown. Like I remember when the lockdown happened and we were asked to teach online. So I was completely crippled. I had no idea of Zoom or Cisco WebEx or Google Hangout. But somehow I have learned during these few months, the last few months. So we need to evolve that way. We just don't keep on looking at the government to do something for us for everything. Any other questions there? I think someone is asking why teaching in mother tongue is challenged. I think in the new education policy, it's not being challenged, rather it is being encouraged. The new education policy is rather encouraging the use of mother tongue. That's why up to class 5th and even to some extent up to class 8th also, mother tongue can be the medium of instruction. So I think the new education policy is rather encouraging that so that the students do not feel crippled in any way. Is that a question or a comment? It has taken such a long time for NEP new policy. Can someone was asked this? Is it a comment or is it a question? I don't understand that. If you can please clarify, L. Narayanan. Is that a comment? Because you are putting it in the form of a question.
Sanjay sir, here is a question. NEP help teachers who work in private organization to get recognized?
I think so. I think so because when autonomy, when we talk about autonomy, I'm not sure about the autonomy at the school level, how autonomous schools will be, how free they will be from the government control or the education ministry's control. but I think there will be recognition coming for private school teachers as well.
Okay, so we have some more questions, but due to time constraints, we cannot concentrate on all the questions. Those questions, and we'll try to answer them privately through mail or something like that. We will move on to the second speaker. Thank you, Sanjay Arora sir, for your talk. Next, Maitri sir,
Yes,
can you call upon Chaudhary sir?
Chaudhary sir, we are very much impatient to listen to you. We know very well you are a straightforward speaker. You have got your own credentials. Let us have the opportunity to listen to you about our future. Let us listen to your opinions for the new teachers, what there will be there in the next 25 years for them to contribute to the development of the country. I request you, sir, to put forth your ideas.
Sanjay sir, you can stop sharing.
Am I audible to you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, right. And can you please project my slides?
Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir.
Right, take your time, no hurry. I don't have much to say. After Sanjay ji, he has left nothing for me.
Sorry, sir.
Sanjay sir, have you stopped sharing?
Yes, I have stopped sharing. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what.
Well done, Sanjay ji, very comprehensive. You covered almost every point in a very polite language, which is your hallmark. You are never aggressive, never, unkind. So that is very good. And you have still said what we can look forward to. That's great. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your slide is on.
Yeah, we can go full screen, please. Yeah.
It will come.
Right. As it is, yes. Thank you very much. Sanjay ji has covered almost all the important points, and he has done it very comprehensively without being unkind to anyone. But overall, to me, it appears that the National Education Policy 2020 has grand intentions. Absolutely no doubt about that. They really mean well. But nowhere in the document is it clear how they will achieve what they profess to achieve, what they want to achieve. So, for example, go to the next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Okay, just keep there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you see, early in the document, on page number 4 itself, the policy document says that the respectability of teachers will be restored, reestablished. It acknowledges that teachers are crucial. The role of teachers is crucial to the success of any policy of education. That is marvelous, for a government to acknowledge publicly that teachers are the most important component of any plan of education, any policy on education, is in itself a very kind gesture in a very meaningful, realistic gesture. It is quite true, as you know, Tagore said very famously when he was building his Shantiniketan in an orchard. He said, building is not necessary for a university or a school or a college. Houses are not necessary. Even benches and chairs are not necessary. Teachers can sit on the ground, students can sit anywhere they like in the branches of the tree. For a university, Tagore said, you need only two things. You need students and teacher. There can be a university. There can be a university without a building, but not without a teacher. There can be a university without a computer, without anything, but not without a teacher. Teachers have the central role in any scheme of education, anywhere. The National Education Policy 2020 acknowledges this centrality of teachers' role in policy of education. This itself is a beautiful thing, marvelous. I feel grateful to those who designed this policy. But then nowhere do they say, come to the next screen, this teacher's respectability. Just stay here. Nowhere do they say how this will be achieved. Just now, anybody can order a teacher. These days, I happen to teach at a primary school at my village, as Maitri sir most kindly said, side by side with IIT and GLA University, Mathura. He also mentioned the primary school at my village near Indo-Nepal border in Bihar, which is still even today under flood. Looking at it from there, a teacher can be called, a school teacher can be called, even a college teacher can be called at any time for anything, for election duty. Am I trained to conduct those? Is that my job? Why don't you call party members? Why don't you call others? Why do you call us interrupting days of teaching for anything? Cattle census of people, polio vaccination. Now, currently in Delhi, school teachers are doing a survey of COVID infection. Anything. Why that? If I am interested, fine, call me. I can tell you, I also taught at Ranchi University, Jharkhand for 14, 15 years. And they used to call us for election duty. I never reported. I said, no, it's not my duty. I am interested in certain political parties. I will work for them. I am not a government employee. Universities are autonomous bodies. Similarly, can a teacher be called for examination duty without his consent? Just now, nobody bothers. The statutes are very clear. The university statutes all over India say that a teacher is expected to perform only those duties that are assigned to him or her by their departments. Which means an English teacher will teach English, a teacher of geology or geography or fine arts will teach those subjects. But just now, nobody has respected those rules. Not the principal, not the vice chancellor, not the district education officer, block education officer. So it is not clear how you are going to make them more respectable. Are you going to pay them the best salary? Don't compare their salary with their own salary of 20 years ago. The prices have risen and you are paying a little better because the prices have gone up. But in the back, Compared with a bank clerk, a primary school teacher still gets less. A primary school teacher still does more. Primary school teacher uses his own pen, his own ink, his own pencil to evaluate the answer scripts. A bank clerk does not do that. A bank clerk does not use his computer, his calculator, his pen or paper. Periodically, he is given a cup of tea by the bank. So in the colleges, you know. So I'm not sure how you are saying you will make teachers more respectable. Will their certificate get a job to their students like it used to be in the British days? If Sanjay ji said that an ex-student was good, that student could become a deputy collector in the British days. That student could become a sub-inspector or inspector of police in the British days. But no longer. Today you don't value even university certificates. Even after in university certificates, in spite of university certificates, everybody has to appear at a recruitment test. You know, will teachers get priority in railway train reservations? Will teachers get priority in many things, in different kinds of quotas and reservations? Will more of them get Padma Shri? You know, you give Padma Shri, Padma awards to cricket players, to film actors, dancers, singers, to crooks, to anyone. But how many teachers? You know, so it's wonderful that the document says that, but nowhere in the document is it given how this goal will be achieved, how teachers will be made more respectable. Then come my third slide, teacher education. You still, as Sanjay ji rightly said, there is nothing new about these things, you know. It's the same old thing. You are repacking B.Ed program. Actually, you are so ambitious. You want your student, you know, the policy document says teachers will help produce someone like Sri Rama, righteous, morally upright, brave, law-abiding, virtuous, intelligent, strong, you know, when Valmiki asks Narada, tell me about someone who is X, who is Y, who is A, who is B, 36 virtues. And Narada tells him the story of Sri Rama. Similarly, the policy document here wants the graduates that come out of the universities to be morally sound, ethically strong, physically strong, aware of everything, had multidisciplinary education, be well versed in this, be law-abiding citizen, be leaders of tomorrow. They want teacher education to have what not. You know, it should contain psychology, philosophy, sociology, neuroscience, all kinds of languages, Indian and foreign, Korean, Thai, Chinese, Japanese, German. As it is, you don't even have, except Kerala. Kerala is a shining exception, you know. Kerala teaches 11 languages in its school system. Hebrew, Arabic, Persian, German, English, French, and then Indian languages, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Hindi, Sanskrit, etc. And Kerala has, you know, if time permits, I can tell you more about it. I had the chance to be a member of Teacher Education Commission in 2013-15, and we saw how things were happening. In nowhere else, you know, teacher education is still as it was 50 years ago or 100 years ago. 2 years, same bunch of subjects, and the number of graduates coming out is not even 25-30,000 in India, whereas India needs at least 200,000 trained teachers every year, 300,000. English teachers alone, more than 30,000 English teachers are required every year at the university level, and then there is college level, school level, college level. Now, following this 2-year model or CIEFL diploma 1-year model, or this document says 6 months. 6 months, how many teachers are you going to produce? And what kind of syllabus are you making? Teachers should be able to guide students in music, dance, drama, chess, poetry, debate, sports. The only thing you forgot to say was polo, golf. These things they forgot. Maybe the members who wrote this document are not interested in those sports. Here, a good number of schools in both urban and rural schools, no playgrounds, nothing, no time, no autonomy to teachers. Teacher cannot decide on his own that in my class today, the child would not study, the child would play carom, and I will teach English through carom. Look at the number of colors on carom board. Look at the spelling of carom. Look at the spelling of X or Y. In such a situation, teacher education, as Sanjay ji rightly said, it's totally unrealistic. Actually, we should have got part of the training as China does. Train teachers in very basics, maths, English, local language, and then give them freedom to experiment, teach skill of hands, let them go. Here we should have given a 1-week training, go and teach and come back every month. Young teachers with senior teachers with young teachers will ask them new questions, senior teachers and young teachers together can sit down and, there could be these clusters they have spoken of, but what will the clusters do, they have not said. In Kerala, it's happening. You meet every month in your local group, you meet every 6 months in your district group, and state level every 2 years. Lots of discussion. All that the state government does is to pay for your bus fare. The host school organizes meals with the help of local community. Wonderful, that should have been the model for teacher education. Continuous, ongoing, like oxygen. It is not that you give 1-2-year training once and then it is over. You have nothing to do. Forget it now, go to sleep. Not that way. Learning is a continuous process. Reddy sir, am I audible or am I enjoying my own talk?
Yes, sir. Very much audible.
Okay, thank you very much, please. Thank you. I like this reassurance now and then. How much more time do I have? Do I have another 5-10 minutes? I have another 2
Yes, sir.
5 minutes
Yes, sir.
almost.
You can take
Yeah,
five.
go to the
5 to 8
next
minutes.
screen. Yeah, go to the next screen, please.
Sir.
Work condition, they have said adequate infrastructure. Yes, wonderful. It should be there. Can you imagine a place where they don't have even basic washroom, drinking water, some space, some free air? Lots of schools and colleges in cities, even in rural areas, are devoid of this. All that you do is spend on buildings and then nothing else. And those buildings are also very unimaginative. Brick on brick, no design, no aesthetics, nothing. And forget other facilities like computers, internet, library, sports, recreation, cafe. If you want them to be on the campus for 6 hours, 8 hours, then it is inevitable that they may like occasionally to go for a cup of coffee or tea or some drink or some light snacks. Why don't you create all those things on school premises or a bank or a post? Some little shopping complex so that when going home they do not have to go again to the market, buy vegetable, go home. They can do some of these things there. Okay, and as Sanjay ji rightly said, you have multi-pronged assessment of these. It's the teachers to be evaluated by the officers, by the, it says multiple sources of evaluation. Okay, you are using CCTV, you are using camera, you are using all sorts of things. How many people are trained to do this kind of thing? How objective is the evaluation going to be? Is this system of evaluation not going to be used to exploit the teachers as it is being done now? One good thing it has said is it will stop. National Education Policy 2020 has said it will stop harmful practice of excessive teacher transfers throughout the country. Particularly, I know of states, I have personal experience of 3 or 4 states, Bihar, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu, Orissa. Teachers routinely lose 1 month's salary every year, which they give to their bosses to stop their transfer to unwanted places. Otherwise, they are transferred. So this is good that if it can happen, it will be wonderful. Okay. Otherwise, there is no change in the work condition of the teacher. Expectation is gone up, but support has not gone up in a matching way. Support, if anything, has gone down. Go to the last screen. Last. Okay. No, before the, yes, here. What is the way out? Way out is give them autonomy, total autonomy, like you give to a doctor, like you give to an accountant. Here are children, here are students. Please teach them something from your subject. Allow the teacher to use his own imagination, her own imagination and intelligence. Be vocal for local, as our Prime Minister is fond of saying. Local community has no say in it. Actually, even the state government's say is being eroded by the new education policy. Everything will be decided by the central. Syllabus, curriculum frame, national framework for curriculum. You already have 3 or 4 organizations. Central Board of Secondary Education, Central Advisory Board on Education, NCERT. Then on top of that, you want to create another National Curriculum Framework Institute, something like that, something of that sort. When will the local community decide? A local community can have better grip on schools. Allow the parents, allow the village panchayat to run their school, give them money and leave them, as it happens in UK, USA, Singapore, Japan. Go to any country with a good university system, as it happened in the British days. The government was only the funding agency in the British days. Universities had the autonomy to the extent that Allahabad University told the Viceroy in 1939, Allahabad University told the Viceroy was scheduled to come for convocation. The students said, we will hoist tricolor. The Vice Chancellor, poor man, said, don't do all this. The students said, no, sir, we'll do it. The Vice Chancellor wrote to the Viceroy saying, my students are going to... सर मैं थोड़ी देर में फोन करता हूँ 1 मिनट के बाद मैं मीटिंग में हूँ Vice Chancellor wrote to the Viceroy saying, my students will hoist the tricolor. Please, if you don't want to come, you need not come. The Viceroy said, in that case, I cannot come. That was the kind of power the universities, the colleges, the schools had. Give them the autonomy. Local community here has no autonomy. It's a policy document of power-hungry politicians, power-hungry officers. Everything will be, whether a primary school should be upgraded to a middle school, should be left to the local panchayat, local village panchayat. Currently, it is decided by the government of India. Whether a primary school in Karnataka can become a middle school is decided by the government of India. Can you imagine this kind of centralization in a federal country? What kind of quality are we talking about? No perks for teachers, no clarity about how they can rise to, they can get promotion in their careers. All these things won't lead to a better education system. If you want better education system, You should give power to the teacher. You should give power to the local community. The government's role should be limited to funding agency. Beyond that, everything should be decided by the local community. Having said all that, our job as a teacher remains as it was. Because the patient does not pay adequate fee, the surgeon would not cut the wrong limb. Surgeon would not give the wrong medicine. The same thing, if you are ambitious, if you think your students should become greater than Alexander the Great or greater than Socrates or Plato, your students will become greater than Socrates and Plato. If you are not ambitious, your students will not be high performing. So regardless of what difficulties we have, we should continue to be ambitious, and we should discharge our duties to the best of our ability, to the best of our intelligence, imagination, and conscience. Thank you very much, Reddy Garu. I have no more to say. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them. Hello.
Sir,
Yeah, I am done. If you have any questions, if anybody wants to ask anything, they are welcome.
there is a question.
Please.
Sir,
Yes.
there is a question. What will be the position of teacher in NEP when most of the teaching is changing to digital technology?
As Sanjay ji rightly said, it does not change very much. It does not change dramatically. If anything, officially the teacher will be more oppressed. There will be monitoring, self-evaluation, evaluation by others. But as both of us have said, these are passing phases. These difficulties, yes, until recently it was 10 plus 2 plus 3. Now it is going to be 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3. These things will, these jugglery with the balls will continue. But there is no dramatic change in the position of the teachers.
There is one more question.
Please.
Are there any health insurance benefits to the teachers?
Nothing has been stipulated. Nothing has been stipulated. It has not been said in clear terms. But that is where the government is trying to be too clever by half. It says they will be given the best infrastructure. I guess the central government will twist the arms of state governments to do something here. The central government is only going to control the curriculum, the training, the teacher education, but pay, perks, etc., state governments will be burdened with, which is not very fair. It's in that sense, it's not very fair. Nothing has been stipulated. It has not been said clearly that every teacher will get an insurance card, a medical insurance card. Sanjay ji, if you know better, you can add to it.
Sir, yes, you have said it. In fact, because even I feel that yes, that's perfectly fine. What you have said,
Yeah, right.
I agree, completely agree to that.
Sir,
Yes.
there is a question from my side.
Okay.
In one sentence, I want to know a teacher fit for the expectations given in the policy.
One who is imaginative and intelligent will carry the day. Who uses his imagination. What is imagination? To see what has not happened. What is intelligence? To go beyond data. If we use our imagination and intelligence, we'll continue to be as important and as influential as we have been. Otherwise, we will be used as slaves.
Sir, one more question.
Please.
There is a concept in the policy, disposition for service.
Hmm.
And you talked a lot about the service that is thirsted upon the teachers. What
Yes.
exactly they expect? Disposition for service.
You see, that's why I said in the beginning, it's a full of wonderful slogans. Disposition in service, a teacher by definition is a dedicated person, dedicated to serve the community, looking after the tomorrow of the community, future of the community, imagining what the future would be and preparing the child for that. So, ideally a teacher would be service minded. Yes, but how would you get such people to come to teaching? There is survey by, every year there is annual survey by International Labour Organization that teaching worldwide does not attract the best talent. Fewer than 10% of the top students come to teaching because of this reason. Because the government, the paymasters, the policymakers do not give them a central role. Who decides your curriculum? So, service-minded word itself is very good. One should not worry about pay, perks, etc. That is great. But in a community where your value is judged by what is your salary package, IITs are great institutions not because they have produced anything for the country. They have produced nothing for the country. If they are closed today, the India will be a gain. India will be in gain. India will not lose anything. But because their students get big salaries. So at a time when you have made money, when mammon is God, then to expect that somebody will be service minded is an exercise in self-deception. That is what they are doing. This document is an elaborate exercise in self-deception.
So there is a question. What will be the future of this policy?
Well, the next government will bring next policy. They are now Ministry of Human. Rajiv Gandhi changed Ministry of Education to Ministry of Human Resource Development. The change of signboards and letterheads alone cost more than 5 crore rupees. Enough to pay all teachers in India one English dictionary. Okay, pay for. Again, they will have change of, letterhead, signboards, all kinds of things. So next government comes, it again changes Ministry of Education, becomes Ministry of Human Resource Development, or it becomes Ministry of Well-being. What do they care for taxpayers' money? They are politicians, they want to buy votes with that. They will go and tell people, look, these are the things we want to do. We want to give you this, we want to give you that. This is all what, T.N. Sessions said about liberalization, privatization, and globalization, that this is LPG, it is gas. T.N. Sessions, the powerful election commissioner, criticized liberalization, privatization, globalization, saying this is LPG, it is gas. He was talking to students at IIT Madras. I was the warden of hostels there, so I also had to be there. And, so this is what it is, gas. They are big slogans, big words, all that they have heard ever, multidisciplinary education. Multidisciplinary education happens when your doors are open. Two departments, English department does not allow Kannada teacher, Kannada teacher would never open their doors to English teachers. Hindi teachers are convinced that their biggest enemies are English teachers, without realizing that whatever has happened in Hindi has happened because of English teachers. Whether be it Nirmal Verma or Mohan Rakesh. But this is the mindset. The government also doesn't create anything. If you, as Sanjay ji rightly said, you can have multidisciplinary education, then your test will have to change. You cannot have conventional test, write an essay on cow in 300 words in 3 hours, proctored test, and you are giving multidisciplinary education. It happens in Harvard, it happens in Yale. A graduate of computer science can opt for an optional course in in classical Carnatic music or in classical Hindustani music. I had a colleague at IIT Madras who had a PhD in computer architecture, but his elective was Shakespeare. Kalyan Krishnan. You can talk to him today. His second elective was Carnatic classical music. And he did great work in designing computer systems which change Hindi to Kannada, Kannada to Telugu to Tamil on an 8,000 rupee computer. That is what you call interdisciplinarity. But these are slogans, my friends. Take them as slogans. Listen to them for some time, like new films come. When Sholay came, it was Gabbar. Now Dangal came, it is Fogat. ये चलता रहता है. इस सबको चिंता नहीं करनी है. आप अपना काम अपने क्लासरूम में. We must do our best. As I said in one line, if we are ambitious, our students will do well. If we are not ambitious, if we think, अरे मेरा क्या है? How does it matter to me? Then nothing will happen. Government in no country, including Japan and Singapore, has done anything. It will not do anything here as well. In other countries, they pay and give autonomy. Japan pays for 16 months salary, 2 months compulsory travel. Here, forget travel. A Solapur teacher cannot even go to Trivandrum, cannot visit Pune for a conference. There is no money. And government would not support, let alone support. Even leave will not be granted. His block education officer would say, no, who will teach your class? Setupati, I'm at a meeting, I'll call you in a moment. The block education officer would say, if you go for a meeting to Kolhapur, who will teach your class? That guy does not understand that when he attends that meeting and when he comes back to the classroom, he will become a better teacher. This concept of teacher development, as Sanjay ji said, CPD, there is no CPD here, no continuing professional development. Government does not think of a refresher course in training. Once you have given 2-year training, it is enough for the rest of your life. Where is the question of coming for conference, coming for discussion meetings? So please do not be under illusion. Our role will remain what it has. We are morally bound, we are morally responsible to make our students the best students in the world. Let us walk that extra mile, use your own resources, your own imagination and intelligence, and produce the best. Mobile phone में तो internet है, computer है. Use that in your classroom. Give them variety of exposures. So those words, but don't expect the government to do anything. It is just as T.N. Sesson said, LPG, it is gas. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Maitre, sir, it is time. You can sum up.
Yeah, thank you, Maitre. Sorry if I sound cynical. I am not. I am trying to tell you, don't expect the government, but expect a lot from yourself.
Sir, I would like to ask the last question.
Yeah, please.
There is a tough competition between doomsday sayers, the world is going to doom, and the teacher's role is going to doom. There is no need of teachers in the world of artificial intelligence and computer.
I wish it were true.
Is it true?
No, I wish it were true. It is not possible. Take very simple thing, extremely simple thing. The machine, even the best of computers, has not come to the stage when looking at you, it can understand whether you are tired, whether you are willing to learn, how should a class start. Only a teacher, even an ordinary teacher, as soon as that teacher gets into the class, he or she knows that my class today, last class of the day, they don't want to study. They want some fun. First class of the day, 30 students are here without breakfast. Finish their class early, let them go for breakfast. Midday, Teach such that, teach for 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes should be enriching 10 minutes. This, what we call parasensory or metalinguistic knowledge, this, what Napoleon called common sense. Computers are millions of light years away from common sense. They can only produce what they have been fed, like animals. And that, as Plato said, human beings are human beings because they can go beyond experience. Even when you and I have not been to Kolhapur, I can imagine what kind of place Kolhapur is, Sholapur is. No machine can do that. Forget it. Machine can be your good assistant. It can be a help to you. If you use it intelligently with imagination, your classes can be fun. Your classes can be great. That's all. There is no substitute to teacher in the foreseeable future. Books will go, yes. Books have no future. Another 5 years at the max. Forget books. But teachers, yes. Not for the next 30, 40, 50 years. I cannot see a classroom neither in Japan, nor in America, nor in my village. Sorry, I've finished. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Let me sum up the things.
Thanks a lot, sir.
The system should match the national demands. So time to time policies are formed and implemented. Whatever the policies the think tank decides are successful only after their effective implementation by the community of teachers. So the teachers should be updated, upskilled. Every policy brings challenges and opportunities to the teachers. National education policy wants vast changes like envisions India a vibrant knowledge society, changes in pedagogical structures, 100% enrollment ratio, well-written, vibrant, multidisciplinary institutions in higher education, liberal education, governance with autonomy, etc. We wanted to strengthen our concepts. We wanted to share with our colleagues, our friends. So we found the platform of Christa University. We collaborated with Christa. We both the chapters, Solapur chapter and Tirupati chapters, are grateful to Christa University for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There were two sessions where Sanjay sir went very methodically. He compared the past and the possible future. And he also presented the missing notes in the policy. Sri sir was ruthless, I can say. So he focused on certain possible changes. The main thing he focused was how we the teachers should proceed. We the teachers should excel in our profession with the help of the existing situations. He very interestingly explained us what are the ways we should get professional excellence and professional pleasure. Sir, both of you have enlightened our audience. The teachers will take home the possible opportunities, possible challenges they are going to face. They will definitely prepare themselves for the next 30 years to come. Especially young generation of the teacher that were present here have to think in a different manner in the light of technology, in the light of artificial intelligence, in the light of need for human talent in our profession. That is it that we have got from both of you, sir. We are grateful. We have been taking efforts to bring together you people because you are the pillars of English Language Teachers Association of India, NSI, and we wanted our own resource persons. That is why I had this noble intention to give exposure to the things that are there in the policy. You accepted our invitation and presented your own ideas. We are grateful on both the chapters and Christ University. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. I think sir has some connectivity issue.
Hello. Ready, sir?
This is the time to propose vote of thanks. I take the privilege to propose vote of thanks. At the outset, let me thank from the bottom of my heart Professor Srish Chandra Chaudhary and Dr. Sanjay Arora for the prompt response and kind gesture of acceptance to disseminate national education policy to the departments as persons. We hope the insights on the national education policy might have provided some direction or better understanding of the policy. But as of my opinion is that it is not sufficient. We need many more such kind of sessions on national education policy for better understanding. We are thinking of to have such kind of series of events and taking the help of Professor Shirish Chowdhury to enlighten our teaching fraternity to get better understanding on this national education policy to become ourselves as the best teachers in the new policy. Next, I humbly thank the Vice Chancellor, Father Abraham VM, and the Registrar, Professor Anil Joseph Pinto, Father Ben Director, and Dr. Ivan Jose, Dean of School of Engineering and Technology, School of Architecture, for providing us all the required approval and support to materialize this academic event. I am grateful to our beloved head, Department of Sciences and Humanities, Dr. A.V. Vijay Shankar, for his constant encouragement and necessary support to organize this academic event successfully. I also thank our committed IT support team for their continuous support to ensure the symposium glitch-free technically. Last but not least, I take the privilege to appreciate the active participation and contribution through meaningful questions to make the event academically fruitful. I hope meeting you all in another academic endeavor. Thank you, one and all. Now we are sharing the feedback link in the chat box. All the participants have to click that feedback link and submit